If we need to, we should be able to put on a backpack, have some resources that we need, and just be able to go. If we need to. Hopefully that never happens to you. Hopefully that never happens to me. But even on a smaller scale, where there's just a hurricane that comes through, and it's kind of bad, but you live and you're okay. I still want you to be able to go acquire supplies, check in on people you love, and that's because you've taken care of yourself first, which means you're not burning yourself out, you're not overtraining, you're not getting hurt, and you are training at a high level where you don't have to train at a high speed level necessarily, but just cultivating the ability to run very far. This is something that's really important should shit hit the fan, like it just did in Asheville, North Carolina. Hey guys, this is a bit of a different video. Now, we just had the hurricane go through Asheville and a lot of the southeast, and currently there's not only no power, no water, no internet, and also no cell service. So I'm kind of cut off from the world here, and what I'm going to share with you is how this relates to your running. Now, it sounds a little bit crazy. Hurricane running? Yes, it really does matter. It matters a lot, perhaps more than you think. So the topic of today's video is on being a capable runner. Now, I made a video when I was visiting Costa Rica about 2 years ago. I talked about being a capable runner. And what I meant when I was traveling there was, hey, I went to go visit this country and I didn't have a car with me. I was just on foot the whole time. I had a taxi drop me off at an Airbnb, and then I was just on foot really to do all my sightseeing, getting my groceries, getting my fruit, and it was kind of quite difficult. I'd have to run to a little tiny local store, get a backpack, and then run home carrying melons. And, I was getting a lot of steps that day, but I felt really, really capable because even though I didn't have a vehicle, I was able to basically do whatever I wanted because my legs weren't a limiting factor. Now, this is something that's really important should shit hit the fan, like it just did in Asheville, North Carolina. Now, a little bit of a backstory on this. The hurricane came through here 2 nights ago, and it was really quite intense. I mean, I woke up, I looked out, and I saw trees, just like full-grown trees, just getting pummeled over and falling over, and just crazy rain. I had some damage to my house here, damage to the roof, and then in the morning, I woke up, and it seemed like it had passed. It seemed like we're going to be okay. And even though the power was off and the water was off, I still had cell service, so I could let people know I was okay. I could check in on my girlfriend. I could check in with my friends, make sure they were okay, and all seemed to be okay. That was until the cell phone reception went out. And for an entire day, we're in the Stone Ages here. And I'm walking around my neighborhood, and there's a bunch of people out who I've never even seen before because they don't have to work, and there's no electricity, and there's no TV, and there's no cell phone, so they're just outside. And when I walk around my neighborhood, it seems like my part of Asheville certainly did not get it the worst. So I thought the rest of Asheville was like this as well. That was until today. Now, I haven't seen my girlfriend in a couple of days. We can't communicate with each other. She lives on the other side of town. So I went out for a run yesterday and just to explore. And there's just downed trees everywhere, giant trees blocking the highway, blocking basically every road. You're not going anywhere. So I did a run and I kind of just explored, and it seemed like aside from down trees and some down power lines, we're okay. That's what I thought until today. Today I decided that I'm going to go check in on a couple of friends, and I'm going to go check in with my girlfriend. Hey, there's nothing to do anyway. I can't make coaching calls. Sorry for any of my coaching clients who didn't hear from me. I can't get in touch with you, and there's nothing I can do about it right here. So I decided to run to my girlfriend's house. It's kind of far. It's about 9 miles to get to her house. Then I got to run back. Now, this is where the lesson comes in. I started running, and I got to this area of town where there's a little river, a creek. Now, this was no longer a little river. I had heard stories from my neighbors that some of the buildings were completely washed away. But surely, just the river came up a few feet, maybe 10 feet, and washed out some buildings adjacent to the river. That's not what happened at all. Turns out, Asheville, North Carolina is in destruction, emergency mode. The river rose, I'll put a picture here. The river rose so high that there's a U-Haul rental truck place. And I was actually just there about 2 weeks ago. Now the ceiling, the top of this building has got to be more than 20 feet tall. It's pretty tall. It's a U-Haul building, and there's 2 levels of storage in there. And this building is covered up to the roof with water. The water came through and washed out all the roads, decimated all the buildings. It's chaos. The roads are gone. So I ran through there today, trying to make it to my girlfriend's house. I thought I would just have to jump over a couple trees. Nope. There are semi trucks that are turned over, stacked on top of each other. There was a giant propane tank from some business that was just leaking, and you could hear it from like a quarter mile away. And I was just hoping it didn't blow up when I went by it. And then I made it through town, and there was nothing open. I was kind of looking for some supplies, maybe some water, maybe some food, maybe some cell service, anything at all. And there's nothing. It's all out. And everybody's just kind of out on foot. It really is kind of like post-apocalyptic. Now, I ran over to see one of my friends, and then I finally made it up to my girlfriend's house. Took a couple of hours because it was very slow going. I was in the muck up to like well above my ankle. I had to go in across some bridges. I had to like hold on to the rail and shimmy across the bridges. It's quite crazy. But the point of this is I was able to do it. I was able to go 9 miles across the carnage, up a mountain. She lives at the top of a mountain, and see her. And then how am I going to get home? I got to run home too. And it wasn't that big of a deal. So when I talk about being a capable runner, I mean, I don't care about the 5K time and the marathon time, all that stuff. That's fun. I want you to have that too. But what I really want for you is to be able to take your feet and move your body as far as you want, as far as you need to in any given situation, and be able to do it. Now, what that means is that if you're injured, now look, if you have an acute injury, rest up, I wish you well. But if you have a running injury, we really, really want to stay away from running injuries. Because if I had some overuse injury, I wouldn't have been able to do this. I wouldn't have been able to check in on the people who I love. So you got to be injury free, which means you got to be healthy. Point number 1. Point number 2 is you got to be able to move your feet as far as you dang well need to in order to achieve what you need. I did pick up a bottle of water from a creek when I was on this run, but that creek was about 6 miles away from my house. So just to go get water, it might be a 12-mile run. That's a long way to go just to get some water, but there's no water coming. The water is out, baby. And I don't anticipate it's coming back anytime soon. So how many times am I going to have to do this? I don't know. But I know that there's going to be a lot of people who are unable to get water and they're freaking out. I'm not freaking out about water because I know that I can run, even if it's a 12-mile run, chug as much water as I can, bring some back, and I have little droplets to be able to purify it, and I have a boiler. I can boil it on a propane stove. But I can also move as far as I need to. Now, the other thing is you want to be able to go as far as you need to and not kill yourself, because I want to go check in on her in 2 days. I'm going to go back. And it was about a 16-mile run, round trip. And so I got to do that again just to be able to check in with these people, because it is quite extreme here. It's quite a catastrophe in some ways. I'm worried about some people's safety. So I want the same for you. You never know when shit is going to hit the fan. Maybe you're going to be traveling and there's a natural disaster and you're not able to acquire things or able to get to safety or able to check in on the people who you love, or maybe even just to like get to a new location. Now, isn't this what our ancient ancestors did? They were able to move with their feet, with minimal food and minimal water, and go as far as they needed, really far, maybe hundreds of miles, perhaps more. I don't know. But what I know is that if you're healthy and you're able to run really far, now look, I took the pace really slow because I knew I might have to do this again and again. I don't know what obstacles I'm going to run into on the way. So I don't have a way to make like juice or smoothie or anything, or pick up sport drink. So I have a little hand citrus squeezer, and I squeezed 4 lemons, 2 oranges, and then I put some maple syrup, added some water, shook that up, boom. It's about 100, 200 calories. And I took a couple of gels with me because, hey, food, you know, and I had like 400 calories with me. And I feel pretty confident that I could run as far as I needed to on 400 calories. I'm just going to take it slow. I'll take a walking break. What I really want for you is to have a body that can go as far as it needs to, that is uninjured, that is healthy, that is strong, that can go very far without needing a lot of water or food, because you have a healthy body that is clean. because you've taught your body how to metabolize fat, and you can just go. So, a lot of love, a lot of blessings going out to people in my town, in Asheville, who lost their businesses or lost their houses or lost their cars. I mean, this stuff is really crazy. That U-Haul that I was telling you about, all their trucks are gone. They just wash downstream and they're upside down. And there's people on a bridge on the highway just stopping and taking pictures of this crazy road that's just under that much mud. And it's really insane. So I hope for you that you're safe. But I know that different areas of our country have their own things that come up. And when that day comes, and do you think that by the time you reach the end of your life, you're not going to experience something like this at least once? Because you might. I think at least once in your life, maybe multiple times. And being stuck, unable to move. Now look, there's people who were stuck in traffic. They're trying to get out on the highway. And it turns out there was a mudslide on one highway. Can't go anywhere. Another highway, turns out a bridge got washed away. So what are you going to do? You're kind of stuck. And that really sucks, because if it carries on and carries on, then you're really stuck and you're in a survival situation, my friend. Let's not be there. If we need to, we should be able to put on a backpack, have some resources that we need, and just be able to go if we need to. Hopefully that never happens to you. Hopefully that never happens to me. But even on a smaller scale, where there's just a hurricane that comes through and it's kind of bad, but you live and you're okay, I still want you to be able to go acquire supplies, check in on people you love. And that's because you've taken care of yourself first, which means you're not burning yourself out. You're not overtraining. You're not getting hurt. And you are training at a high level where you don't have to train at a high speed level necessarily, but just cultivating the ability to run very far. Now that's all relative. What does very far mean? But if you can't run, walk. But it takes a lot of energy to be able to go really far. I'm thankful that it wasn't worse. I hope that you are safe. I hope that you got a little bit of a message from this video. It is my deepest hope for you that you are strong, that you are fit, that you are healthy, that you are injury-free, that you are capable of using your body in the way that you need. I very much hope that you run well, be it long distance, short distance, for fun, and God forbid for survival. But if you need to, I hope that you can. This has been Andrew Snow with Run Elite. Take care. As I was about to hit publish on this video, the power just came back on. Now I'm going to give you an update about how this affected running over the last week and a half. When I recorded this video for you, it was about 3 days into this. We're now over 12 days into this. Now I'm staying at a friend's house right now because they had running water and the power just came back on at their house. I hope it's back on at my house. I don't know. Haven't been there yet. But I want to tell you what this did for my running over the past 12 days. The last 3 days or so, I got to stay at a different friend's house and they had everything. They had power, water, Wi-Fi, and it was quite a nice reprieve. But there's nothing to do. There's destruction in town. So I took a weekend to just kind of like self-care and reset after 10 days of like harrowing catastrophe. And I ran a lot. I ran about 4.5 hours a day, every day, 3 days in a row. And it was wonderful. It was a nice little reprieve. So I also want your running to be able to be a reprieve for you. Should you be under a lot of stress, should something like this happen to you, it'd be really nice that when you do get the space to, after dealing with stuff, to be able to just move your body and express it. I got to be in the sunshine. I got to move my body, take some dogs, explore. I even ran on a treadmill and watched a movie, and it was great. And being able to run for 13.5 hours in a weekend was a luxury that sometimes you don't get. But when everything's shut down and nobody's doing anything aside from just getting supplies, what are you going to do? And it was a great opportunity. So I want that for you as well. Everything's a blessing in disguise if we let it be. The great Jim Rohn said that, and Napoleon Hill said this as well, that with every setback comes with it the seed of an equivalent advantage. So there was quite a setback here, but the seed of an equivalent advantage, in part, at least this past weekend, was being able to spend the whole weekend running and sleeping, running and sleeping, running and sleeping. 3 days of glorious training, glorious recovery, and now back at it. I hope that you're safe. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.